Hi. Yeah, today we'll look into about what is React and why we need to learn React. What are the uses of React? So React.js is a front-end JavaScript library. So initially, first we'll see what's the trending for React, Angular, and Vue. So if we go to Google Trends and if we check, what is the latest technology which has more, like see we are comparing from React and Angular JS. So there are three more major frameworks which are ruling this JavaScript and front-end web development. Number one is React, Angular, and Vue.js as well. So this Google Trends will list out in United States past 12 months. React.js is ruling, and Angular is also half of it. So by this chart or by this Google Trends, we can understand React is more powerful and most of the people are using React.js. So this is what we are going to understand with this React Google Trends. And coming to what is React.js and what are the prerequisites needed to learn React.js. So the only things we need to learn React.js is number one, if you are coming from any of the background, if you wanted to learn React.js, the major things we need to have a basic understanding of HTML and basic understanding of JavaScript. It's not to the high level. Just we need to understand what is HTML, what is JavaScript. If we have that minimum base understanding of what is HTML and JavaScript, we can start learning this React.js. So now coming to React.js. What is this React.js? React.js is nothing but it is a JavaScript library. It's not a framework. Whereas Angular and Vue.js are frameworks. React is a library. It's not a framework. Then first question we are going to get, what is the difference between a library and framework? Uh, Library is nothing but it gives a set of features to accomplish a work. That's called a library. It will not provide end-to-end result set. Whereas a framework is nothing but if we go to Angular and Vue.js, those are called as frameworks. It means we'll be having an end-to-end solution for routing uh, from the beginning of the project to the end of the project, security, performance, routing, and each and everything will be accomplished in a framework. It would be like a complete solution for a web development. Whereas React is just a library, and React uses multiple library helps. For state maintenance, it will be using Redux. For routing, it will be using React Router. There are a lot of third-party things which will help React to make it work as a framework instead of a library. So React is nothing but it's not a framework. First thing is React is a JavaScript library. So that's the one. So coming to understand, uh, next question is what all things needed to develop React.js? We just need only one Node.js dependency. We need Node.js dependency, and we need to go to any of the latest Node.js. This is a website nodejs.org and go and download. LTS means it is a long-term support. Instead going to the current features, please go to the LTS support. So it will be helpful for us to go to LTS support. It is recommended because they will be supporting this version for a long time. So go and here download if it is Mac, Windows, anything. Your relay, find out your bits. It is 64-bit or 32-bit. Find it out and install the respective like IMSI MSI file 32-bit. If we download this, we'll be getting Node.js downloaded into our machine. So Node.js is the first dependency to work with React.js. And by the time it downloads, let's discuss the second dependency. This is not a dependency. This is any editor. Like we can go with Visual Studios, Sublime Text, anything. whichever you feel comfortable, more comfortable, you can go with that. But most of the developers uses Visual Studio. Why? Because it has more features, like we can have Git inbuilt and terminal inbuilt. Most of the features or extensions were available with Visual Studios. So the second dependency is IDE, Integrated Development Editor. So we can use this for writing our code, React code. We need to write React code somewhere. So we are choosing this Visual Studio Code as our IDE to write the code. Now it was installed. When I click this and install Node.js, I will be Node.js would be installed. So now I'm checking whether the Node.js is installed or not. For that, we need to click Node-v. So Node version node hyphen space hyphen v. It will give us the node version. Now the current version which I am using node is 12.15.0. So with the installation of node, we'll be getting npm as well. Npm is nothing but it's a node package manager. What does this npm role is? It will bring out all the dependencies needed for our project, and it will give to the our project. npm is nothing but it is a repository where all the third-party tools or libraries will be present in the cloud. We can use of npm and we can install that in our mission. So we need npm will be coming along with the node installation. If anyone installs node, npm would be by default coming with the node. So now the npm version we have is 6.13.4. And again, I'm just wanted to repeat that npm is will be coming along with the node, and npm is nothing but node package manager. It's nothing but npm is nothing but node package manager. It will help us to uh, get the dependencies from the repo. Okay, there will be npm repository where everyone will be publishing their third-party libraries so that we can install anything with the help of this npm. It's like an dependency dependency manager for our applications. Yeah. So the third dependency to develop with React is create React CLI. So I will explain what is this create React CLI. So now for any project, for any of the development environment, we need to have some setup. Okay, if we wanted to go to develop some any of the Java, suppose if you wanted to learn Java, develop Java, you need to have so many dependencies like Maven. For J2W, we need to have Maven, everything like that. So for any of the new frameworks, we will be having a lot of dependencies to be involved in the integration. Whereas nowadays, for the web development, what we are getting is we are getting CLIs. It means command line. For example, in order to configure all the React elements to work to start up with the work, you need to have a lot of configuration. So you sometime you will feel how to work with React or to learn React. We need to spend this much time of the configuration. You will be leaving up that language, or we'll say that it is very hard to learn. So because of that, they came into this React CLI. What does this do? If once you install this React uh, create React CLI, it will help you like no configuration. You no need to bother about anything related to the configuration. Everything will be given by React create React CLI. So the only thing you need to concentrate on is code. Just you install that CLI, everything will be created by that. Everything in sense, in that you'll have a lot of things, like we need to have a server with where our application should run, and we need to have a Babel where our code transpiles. It should have a live reload wherever we change the code, it needs to reflect back in the browser. So there will be many of the configurations. It will be given by default, so you no need to concentrate or bother about any of these configurations. You just directly go and install this, and a project will be created for you, and you are ready to go, you are ready to develop anything. So the only advantages of using this is you no need to bother, and there would be zero configuration, no configuration settings for you. So everything will be handled by that, and you just need to bother about what is the topic you are going to learn and how you are going to use the or utilize the concepts of React. So that was the main agenda of this create React CLI. So these are the three things we need for developing the React application. Okay. Moreover, I will I need to talk what is a React. So we have talked what are the prerequisites for React. We need to have minimum knowledge of HTML and JavaScript, basic knowledge. This is a prerequisite to learn Java, to learn React.js, whereas React.js is just a library, it's not a framework. And what all the dependencies needed to work with React.js project is Node.js, Visual Studio's editor. Node.js is it's like a backend JavaScript framework where it holds all the application into it, and it serves as a server for the front-end developers. So a short note on Node.js is that it's like a backend framework, backend JavaScript framework, where it holds our application and it will be serving as a server for us. Whereas coming to this create React CLI, it will give us all the prerequisites or everything which was needed without configuring anything. We can start our work. That is create React CLI. So in a moment, I will be installing this. Along with that, we'll be installing a project as well. So before that, we'll be coming to what is a React.js. I mean, why the name we got it as a React. So let me explain. The name, what's the name purpose of this React? So we call this as React.js. Why? Because in any of the project of in any of the web application, there will be all are the components. These are all everything we see here is a component. Every component or every element has its own state. Okay, for example, now this button has its own state. Unless and until I hover on it, it is changing its state. Okay, so here React means for every any of the element or component, if I act on it, how it state reacts is what React is. How this element or component going to react for my action is called as that's the name we are getting it as a React. Let me explain it in similar simple terms. This is a component or an element. I'm going to perform an action on this. How it reacts. How it reacts is a major thing. So how it reacts and how it modifies its state is a major part of React.js. That's why the name React we got this framework, this library as a React. So how the components and elements are going to react for our actions and how they are going to hold the state. So that was the main thing we play around in the React.js. So how the component element will be reacting for our actions, how they react. So that's the main word they have taken, how they are going to react for state changes. So that's the why they have kept this name as React.js. So that's the name why we got React is. And let's come and we'll discuss about this React.js. Now what are we going to do in with this React.js? For any of the web development, React.js is a component based JavaScript. So what is mean by this component based? For example, everything in React.js is a component based. Not only in React.js, in AngularJS also everything is a component based. What the term component based means? So it means everything in the application is an component. For example, if this is the application we have taken, So Node.js is a this is an application if you are going to try to make build. So we need to divide this entire website into possible smaller piece of component. I mean, we need to make entire this bar as one component, okay, and this part as one component. So entire this application, we need to divide them as much as smaller components. What's the need of dividing them into a smaller components? What we get from that? So the main question is that what we'll get by dividing a smaller components. By dividing whole application, web application into smaller pieces of components, the main advantage we get is we have a smaller component where we can reuse that same component anywhere else. Also, the bit of component is testable for easy. We can test write test cases easily, and we can identify bugs easily. So there are many advantages by using component based. So everything would be a component based. We'll be integrating all the components into one parent component where that parent component will be becoming our web application. So in that web application, each and everything would be a smaller piece of component. Okay. First of all, for any of the web application, if you take, you need to divide that web application into part and parcel. I mean, you need to decide which would be a component, which would be used as a component so that you can use multiple times here. So that was a main agenda of having this component based. So we can have divide entire web application into smaller pieces of components where we can reuse these components, and it helps us to test easily, and it identifies the bugs easily. So that's where we are dividing everything in React as a component based. So what are the features of React? There are multiple features of React which is making React more stronger than other frameworks. So the main feature of React.js is virtual DOM. So what's virtual DOM? Virtual DOM is nothing but, we need to understand what is a DOM before discussing about a virtual DOM. We need to make sure that what is a DOM. So will explain you. We need to go, if this is a one website, and I am going to here and right click here, go to inspect, you'll be getting this one. We call this as a developer tools. We can have F12 as well to enable this feature. So now see what all available in these elements. This is known as DOM. For every action, whatever action I am making, make here, it will reload entire DOM. If you see, it is reloading entire DOM. For example, I'm elaborating this. I'm expanding these tags. Now I'm clicking some action inside. For example, I'm going to docs. If you observe here, the entire DOM will be modified here. See, entire DOM was replaced. If you observe, it was a minute change. It will blink. It will blink the HTML body header like this. So what does this mean? It is re-rendering entire DOM, which is more expensive and time taking work. So here the point we need to understand is elements tab in the developer tools. Elements tab is what we are showing it as an DOM. This is called as DOM, where for every action which we make in the application, entire this DOM will be re-rendered, entire this DOM. So which is cost effective and also time taking process. Whereas what React uses, this is called as a DOM, and we'll call it here as a real DOM. Okay, here we call it as a real DOM. Why? Because we need to understand what is virtual DOM. So before that, we are naming this as a DOM, real DOM. So real DOM, what does real DOM do? For any of the user interactions or any of the user actions, entire DOM would be re-rendered, reloaded or re-rendered. Entire DOM would be reconstructed again. So this is we are calling it as more expensive and time taking. Why it would be more expensive and time taking? Entire this DOM is re-rendered means why it is more expensive and time taking, in sense again the browser needs to construct the DOM tree again, and also it needs to assign the CSS classes once again, and also it needs to assign classes and events to the elements. All these elements will be having their own event handlers, and when the DOM again replaces, the browser need to give those handlers to each of the element, and the header tag will be helpful for giving all the CSS back to the elements. So there are two expensive operations we are seeing here. One is when the entire DOM replaces, I mean re-renders, again we need to give every CSS to all the elements. CSS would be given again to entire all the elements. Whereas coming to event handlers also should be given to all the elements which has events. So which is more cost effective and time taking process. So this is how the DOM works. This is how the DOM works from many days, whenever the HTML browser DOMs, Java engines, everything will were constructed in this way. So what was the reason for React.js to have its own virtual DOM? So what's virtual DOM and why they are come up with this virtual DOM mechanism? React people, I mean React was developed by Facebook. So Facebook was the company which developed React. So the main reason why Facebook has come up with this thought is uh, actually Facebook owns this Instagram as well. Facebook thought of having a framework which should not re-render the DOM every time. For each and every small change, entire DOM re-rendering is a cost effective, as we discussed. So there are thought of they need to have some library or framework which helps us to avoid this task. So that was their idea. So with that idea, they have constructed and they have created this React JS. So they have came up with a new approach called instead re-rendering entire DOM again. The DOM needs to change only what all the changes needed. Only what all. For example, if I change this color, only the related changes only affect the DOM. Not entire DOM needs to re-render. Only the particular element, only the changes need to impact the DOM needs to be replaced in the DOM, not entire DOM. So with React.js, they could able to achieve that. In 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 React.js, they could able to achieve this. Like whenever there is a small change occurred in this footer, only this part of tag would be reloaded instead of entire DOM. So that is called as a virtual DOM. I hope I have given a clear understanding of what is virtual DOM. Like uh, DOM is nothing but it will reload entire DOM every time for each and every small change in the application, whereas virtual DOM means it will help us what exactly the change needs to be applied to the DOM. It will identify that and it will only replace us that instead reconstructing the DOM again. So uh, with that it was more I mean performance what will be improved a lot, and the DOM is not constructed from the beginning, so it's not expensive. uh, we're not going to create CSS classes again for all the elements, so its performance is increasing. We are not going to give event handlers to each and every element, so its performance is increasing. So this was their initial idea, and they have come up with that, and they have kept so now if we observe, the whole Instagram was developed with React.js. 100% of elements or used components are used for developing of Instagram was React.js. They have used React.js 100% to develop the Instagram. So why they have come up this with this approach means, in Instagram we are aware of Instagram that there are number of post images will be coming within seconds. So the UI should be very much fast that when the user scrolls or he lazy loading, or when he scrolls, the performance should be absolutely faster. So that's the reason they have come up with this approach, virtual DOM. Instead, if you go to the real DOM, and install and develop the Instagram, it creates some performance issues. So that's the reason they have come up with a new thought of creating and updating the DOM in the virtual DOM. So that was the main brief introduction about virtual DOM. Uh, to explain what is virtual DOM and how it works internally, I will I have a PPT for that, and I will explain in further classes. For now, I think it's enough to understand what is a virtual DOM for now. And what all steps? There would be three steps mainly involved in virtual DOM calculation. It would be calculating what are the previous DOM changes and the current DOM changes, and it will update the only changes which were reflected there. So there are few steps where the virtual DOM would be following. It is known as reconciliation process. So I will be explaining more about that in the further classes. So for now, let's go and install the React CLI. So uh, take any of the cmd command. So if you are working on Windows, go to run cmd command, run this cmd as an administrator. If you're working in Mac, go to any of the terminal and install this as npm install -g. This is for global installation of React, create React CLI. So now I'm installing this. What does this command represent? Now what we are going to do is npm. It means, as I have mentioned, npm is nothing but node package manager, and I'm going to install create react CLI package and -g. -g means we are going to install this create react CLI package globally, not to particular to this folder or not to particular to any of the folders. -g represents we are installing some package globally. It resides in the global level. Okay. So now see, I have installed this earlier. So if you understand here, the create React CLI package was already installed here with its version. So it is saying that we have added this package. So I will write this command as well. So which helps us. I will be writing this command. This was the first command we need to use to install. So next command which we are going to install is we need to create a project. So for that, I will change to this uh, C drive classes. So go to I have created like react classes as a folder in the C drive, and here now I'm making, I have in this package like create react CLI package. So with the help of this package, now I'm going to create an application, react application. See how simpler it is. I'm going to npx. It's a small npm. Instead npm, they have came up with npx. Okay. Npx create react CLI, and the folder name or the application name you're going to give to the first React project. So I'm telling it as a first class. So this is our folder name and our project name of the React first classes. So this is the way we need to create our React applications. If I click enter, it will do the process of creating the first class application. Sorry, give me a second. Okay. 1 second. I think we are doing something mistake here. So actually we need to do react CLI command. 1 second, we'll go through here. So this is a command, react CLI app. Okay, I'm sorry for that. React app first class or first session or something like that. So this would be the application name. So now if you observe, it is installing. So let me explain what all the commands we have used. So this is the first command I have used. This command we used to install create react CLI into our build system, whereas npx create react app, this command will be creating a new project, react project for us. The project name would be first class. Anything you can give, any of the project name here. So it will be creating in the this folder, in the particular this folder. It takes some time at the initial steps. So till that time I will be explaining you about the official website of react.js. So this is the official website of the react.js. So here you have DOS and tutorial blogs community. There are a lot of features react.js would be giving. So for any of the development process or learning curve, you need to have this tab must and should. While you are developing a minimum topic also, or where you are developing any feature, where you are learning anything, you need to must and should have this uh, tab open, and you need to refer each and everything, whether you are going to do it uh, perfect according to the practices defined by react or not. You need to mention this. So when you are going to learn a new thing, new language like this, also I would suggest a few more things I would be explaining, like uh, react best practices. So you need to have this in one tab. So you need to have this in one tab, and react common mistakes. So every developer needs to maintain these things. So for developing a small task or for learning initially, we need to have these things. Usually I used to do this type of development. Like I used to have an official website tab, and I used to have a best practices tab beside. And I used to understand what all the best practices React needs to give. I mean, while I'm going to create a file name, how I need to create a file name. What would be the best way to create a file name, or how the reusability component I need to create. So this way I need to learn, and these are the common mistakes. This is more important for the beginners to learn anything. So my way of teaching would be in this way. I mean, directly I will go and I will explain you what all the common mistakes we are going to do. For react.js people, what are the common mistakes we are going to do initially while learning. We'll be thinking of it as another framework, and we'll be developing it with wrong assumptions, so that we should not do. So these common mistakes explains you and helps you in avoiding the common mistakes, and it helps you understand the concept better. So that's why you need to have an official website to have a strong basics understanding of the concepts, and one best practices how to use the concepts, and one how not to use the concepts. What are the common mistakes we do while learning or while doing any project? What are the common mistakes we do? We need to have tabs uh, these tabs ready to learn or to work. So still it taking a long time. So at the initial phrases, it takes a long time to install. Why? Because this is the first time, no? So it takes a long time to install. So let's give 1 more minute for that. So you can take, yeah. Meanwhile, let me discuss you about this React CLI component itself. So as I mentioned, there would be no configuration changes needed. Yeah, this doesn't have any configurations. It will be no configuration needed for us. Just we are going to run one command where our application will be served in the local host, and we can see our in output in the browser in the tab. So give it one more second. Wait for one more second. Meanwhile, let me check what all the. Yeah, I need to explain what are the okay. I used to write a list of components to explain in an order. So let me explain them before that. So I guess you are aware of importing and exporting components one from one page to another pages. So for example, if we write any component, that component needs to be used in another file. So in that case, you need to export it. If a component need if a component needs to export before it is going to import, so that way it works. So let me explain you in while by showing the code so that it helps us. Yeah, if once the project was created, we'll be getting this one like a happy hacking, and we'll be getting all these commands if you observe. So it's asking us to start the development service with this npm start command. So before that, I wanted to open this project in an Visual Studios to better understanding. If you go to this folder structure, we have a project first class here. So this was the all the folder structure was created for us. So let me open this in the Visual Studio. So for any of the new project, uh, if you're coming from any of the project, if this is a if you're going to go through any of the new project, first thing, you feel this as a new project given to you, from where you are going to start. So that was the main point. Like this was a pre-built application given by React CLI for us. Consider if you are going to any company or any of the project you are taking, from where to start, uh, where I need to start. This was a folder structure I have, from where I need to start. The first thing is readme file. So readme file will be briefing you what is what. I mean, it will explain you what is what in terms of a document. So this helps us in reading and understanding what all the components we have used, what is in the application. It will brief the application. So coming to next part is package JSON. This is the main thing we are going to find in an application. So this is the core part of any of the UI application of JavaScript applications. So now if you come here, these are the scripts part. Let me explain what are these scripts part. So when we are creating this project, it has asked us to run npm start. Okay. If I run this npm start, let me run this npm start. So what happens? So I'm opening a terminal in the Visual Studio itself, and I'm running npm start. The time I click npm start, if you observe, it is going to pick the command here. It is picking this command and it is running. So this is what happens. So what all present in the scripts, you can change this word start to any of the name, like start 123. If you give now it has start 123, now you need to run the application as npm start 123. So here I am trying to explain you, this is just a placeholder name. When you type npm start, internally this is the command going to start, and it is going to run our application. So that's what's the point I'm trying to make here clear. So if you observe here, now our application was compiled successfully, and now you can view your first in your browser here. So if I click this, if I go now localhost, the application is rendered here. So for any of the small change we do, like so if you see here, it is asking us to edit source file app.js and save. It will automatically reload this. So we'll go to src app.js. Let's do what it will app.js, src app.js. If I try to change something here, this is first class. So if I save this and go back to the browser, it will automatically re-renders here. See, we have not even refreshed the browser. So what happened here is React has hot live reload. It will help us what all the changes we do in our application. This live reload will be watching the files. Any of the file was modified, it will reload the application, and there is no need of us to reload the page. It will automatically reload the application. So what this CLA is giving for us, let's once uh, let's once see what this CLA is giving for us. Initially it was giving us the development server. So we are going to run it in localhost 3000. So it is hosting our application. So it is given us the development server, and also it is given hot reload, I mean a live reload. As soon as I change anything here, it is going to change there. So these are the two, and also it is going to give us Babel. Babel is nothing but a transpiler which modifies our application ES6 code into browser understandable plain JavaScript code. So see, to configure all this, we need to have a lot of things to do. Like, for example, we have a development server, which is configured by React CLI itself. And we have live reload. As on when we change the code, it will be reflected in the browser. This is because uh, live reload would be watching the files, and as on when we change the any change to the file, the watcher would be watching the files. As on when there is any change to the file, this watcher will be notified, and it will reload the files in the browser, and we can see our changes, updated changes in the browser. And also we have Babel, inbuilt Babel. What's this Babel means? It will transpose the latest ES6 code to the browser understandable plain JavaScript. So browser only understands the plain JavaScript. It will not understand classes, objects, everything. What all the features we have in ES6. ES6 is nothing but the latest version of JavaScript. It's a modern JavaScript. So it can't understand this JavaScript. It only understands the plain JavaScript, like uh, uh, initial stage of JavaScript, like ES6. It only understands ES5 of JavaScript. So Babel, what does this do means it will convert all the code of ES6 into plain JavaScript code. So these are the three benefits we are going to get with React CLI application. We are not configuring this anywhere. We have not ever configured anything here. So in order to configure these all three steps manually, there would be a lot of effort from us. It takes a lot of time. If anything goes wrong, we need to come from the beginning stage. So what this CLI helped us, it has given everything for us. So we have zero configuration. We have done nothing. Configuration side, we have done nothing. It has given us application straight away. So now here you need to only concentrate on the business logic or whatever you wanted to explore in React.js, not for the from the configuration side. So yeah, coming to here, there are packages, and there are many other commands here. Like if you run npm build, it is going to produce a dist folder here for us, which will be using for other production builds. If you run npm tests, it is like a test unit testing purpose. This is npm test. Coming to this eject, it is like if you're not happy with what React.js CLI was provided for us, then you are going to type this npm eject. This is one time impact. I mean, if you run npm eject once, you can't undo this action. Whatever the CLI has been given for us, everything will be rolled back. This will be not available if we run that command. So take care, and no need to run this command. And if you are going to run this command, you need to mind it, you're going to lose all these features which was providing by default by React CLI. So whenever you're not happy with what all the React.js provided inbuilt, you're going to do this. Okay. And so that was a scripts tag explanation. And coming to dependencies. In the package JSON, what all the default dependencies given by React CLI. So these are the three default dependencies: React, React DOM, React scripts. These are the three default dependencies given by the application CLI. So this is all about the package JSON. So coming to the folder structure, let me explain the folder structure here. So here we have public folder. The node modules folder is the dependencies, what all the dependencies needed for us to run this application. So all will be going into this node modules folder. So this is like if we install npm install for any application, all the dependencies will be moving this node modules into this node modules folder. So this majorly this node modules folder is nothing but it holds all the dependencies needed for our application. Coming to this public folder, this holds all the assets like uh, logo, images, and robots, I mean font file, and whatever we need. Assets all come under this public folder. You need to make assets instance fonts and images. Mainly we call fonts and images comes under this public folder assets. We need to maintain any of the images here, and you can directly access them in the src folder. So here the main folder which has everything is src. In this src, again you'll be having the app was divided in this way. Let me go to index.js. So if you here observe app, here we are using an app. So this is the app. What is this app? This is nothing but our component. Here we have imported our component, import app from app, and we are using that component in this way. Okay. Before importing this, we need to write app. What is app? What is present in this app file? So that we need to understand first. So app, go to the app component. We have this some text here, some HTML code here, and we are going to return this whenever there is an app component used in index.js, then entire this return, I mean this div would be returning back. Let me say it again. If you are going to use app here, the time you React compiler goes here, first it will check whether the import is there or not. It will find the import and it will go to the app.js. And when it goes to the app.js, it is going to return this component. So entire this component will be coming and will be replaced here. So that was the main thing here happening. So let me explain one strange thing here. Like this is .js file and we are using HTML here. So what all you see here is div, image, paragraph tag, all the tags. These tags are usually we use these tags in .html file, but now we are writing everything in .js file. So this syntax is known as JSX, JSX, JavaScript XML. So the main purpose of using JSX is uh, here we are returning entire HTML is resided in the JavaScript. We are writing HTML in a JavaScript. So this syntax is named as JSX, JavaScript XML. So it will directly return the component for us. So that's the main, that's why this syntax is called as JSX. So if you, one more thing, if you observe, this app component need to be exported by default. In order to use import, we need to export any component first. Then only we can use that by using the import statement. So That was the main thing. We need to write, this is a functional component, we have a class components, state, everything. um, in the next class we'll be discussing about